Upstate.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. It's Tuesday, and the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What's up, world? How's everybody? Y'all doing all right? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the radio broadcast today. My name is Rob Brown, and the pleasure of being with you today is mine. No Zoe today, unfortunately. He's a bit under the metaphorical and proverbial weather, not feeling his best. He'll be back, hopefully, fingers crossed, tomorrow. In the meantime, you get yours truly playing the role, of course, of host, producer, executive producer, at least for today, and at least in title only. Playing the role of engineer, of phone screener, of show prepper, of security, of bouncer. I'm just doing a little bit of everything today, and that's okay. I'm doing it for you, ladies and gentlemen, the people. I am so glad to have you guys along with us today. If you'd like to be a part of the program, there's lots of ways that you can do it. First off, the phone lines are open for you at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. That's the number if you would like to be a part of the broadcast today. You can also get at us by giving us a buzz, shooting us a text at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air today. If you want to get at us in that direction, you are certainly welcome to as well. We will check out your tweets on the radio broadcast today. Twitter.com/TheFanUpstate, Twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show. You can get with us in both of those directions. And, of course, and perhaps most importantly, we'd love for you to join us on the stream as well. Hit us up on the stream by tweeting me or going to Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, or you can go to YouTube and search The Fan Upstate, YouTube.com, and then search The Fan Upstate. Plus, you can also get at us by searching The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. So all of those different ways of joining the broadcast are available to you. Already got some folks jumping on the stream with us this AM. Steven and James and others already dropping some thoughts on the chat box. If you would like to be able to do the same, go to Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate. Search The Fan Upstate on YouTube, as Diesel and I have been spending quite a bit of time and quite a bit of effort to start pumping out some new video content on the channel as well. You're going to get highlights from the show itself. You're going to get videos from different events that we're covering in person. You're going to get all kinds of goodness coming out of the YouTube channel. So make sure that you are checking that out at The Fan Upstate on YouTube. We got a lot of stuff we're going to get into on the radio broadcast today, including last night's NBA action. Y'all know I'm a Steph Curry guy, right? I love Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry is one of the greatest point guards to ever play the National Basketball Association's game. I think Steph Curry is, without question, the most incredible long-distance shooter of our lifetime. I don't think we've ever seen anybody like Steph Curry with his ability to just be a sniper from a distance. But, and much like me, it's a big but. Steph blew it last night. Steph Curry is one of the greatest to play the game. And at the point in time where the Golden State Warriors needed him the most last night, Steph Curry blew it to my dude. He just did. I don't want to say that he blew it. I don't want to say that he was the problem. It's Steph high. He's the problem. It's Steph. But he was, right? 4 massive mistakes inside the last, 25 seconds of that game last night? The Dubs find themselves down 104-101 with just under 15 seconds left to play. Steph runs it inbound. He gives it to Draymond. Draymond drives to the rack. Mistake number 1. Draymond had his defender beat at least enough to draw the foul. And instead of drawing the foul, he decides instead to dribble all the way under the basket and throw a jump pass. Did not work. Ball ends up getting picked off. Goes back to L.A. Now the odds you win are terrible. But Draymond wasn't alone because alongside Draymond, Steph at one point had Anthony Davis locked up in one-on-one coverage. Now, Anthony Davis, when he's at his best, Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders of the rim in the National Basketball Association, but is not a guy that I want locked up 1v1 against Steph Curry out at the free throw line or worse, out past the arc. So there's some switches, there's some moves around, and Steph Curry decides that he is going to jack up a step back, off balance, one-footed jumper from the free throw line that's going to give him his best chance of, no, Steph, I love you, dog. I really do, but that wasn't it. Then there's a little bit of hero ball underneath. As the rebound comes back out, it ends up back with Steph Curry. This time he's out just inside of the logo. He dribbles up to the line. Then he hits the step back jumper from like 4 damn ever away from the rack. Fading away from a distance. Now, again, we've seen Steph Curry hit these shots before, right? But these shots are what I call the no yeses. It's a shot that when the coach when the coach sees his guy lift that shot, when the coach sees his guy put that one up at the rim, he goes, no. And if you get lucky and drops it, he'll go, yes. Now, if there's a guy in the league that you want taking a no, yes shot, if there's a guy in the league that you want floating that one toward the basket and giving you a chance for it to drop, giving you a chance for that bucket to go down, it's Steph Curry. That's the only guy that you want taking that shot in the league if you only get to pick one. But you're still talking about a real low percentage shot, right? You're still talking about from that distance, from that range, after that move with a wonderful defender out in front of him. You're talking about Steph, if he's lucky, hitting that 1 out of 3 times. That's not good enough, dude. It's just not good enough. So that was a moment, that was a spot where I thought Steph Curry, a guy that 90% of the time I think you can trust to make the right decision, I think blew it. He had time to work. There was no hurry. There was no situation in which Steph Curry needed to put up that lottery winner, that Powerball effort, all right? There just wasn't. And that's what he ended up doing, which I like I said, I just didn't get it. I really just didn't get it. All right. We got a lot of stuff that we got to get to over the course of the radio broadcast today. If you would like to be a part of the show, as I mentioned, you're welcome to do so. 844-326-3663. Text us 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we shall read them on the air. Lonzo out today, so you get all me, which means we're going to get heavy deep into a lot of different stuff on the broadcast today. Some of the other topics coming up throughout the course of the show. Happened a little earlier in the week, but we got to get to it. Brad Brownell at Clemson has been a topic of conversation amongst the Tigers since I got here. Scratch that. Since well before I got here 3 years ago. Brad Brownell did not make the NCAA tournament last year and then got bounced very early in the National Invitational Tournament. And the question about Brad Brownell's, shall we say, job security have been answered by a resounding thud over the past couple of years. Since I got here, Clemson fans have told me, not the guy. Got to move on, right? We're tired of not getting the guys. We're tired of not getting the stars. We're tired of not winning, which is beyond fair. Beyond fair. Welp. Brad Brownell picked up a transfer portal player that I don't want to be overly dramatic about, but he might have locked up a little job security for Brad Brownell. We'll talk about that later on in the radio broadcast. Talking some Carolina Panthers today on the show. Why? Because Bryce Young has had his name called a couple of times over the past couple of days. Not only was Brad Brownell named by a former Super Bowl winning executive as the rookie he has the highest belief can, will, and is set up to succeed in the National Football League. But Frank Reich, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, drew some very interesting comparisons with former players about who BY reminds him of. And I found those names, suffice to say, interesting. I'll tell you who Frank Reich said Bryce Young reminds him of later on in the show. We mentioned it very briefly yesterday. Didn't really get a chance to dive into it. We'll do it today. Texas and Oklahoma needed one more set of thumbs up, thumbs down in order to be cleared to join the Southeastern Conference in a couple of years. We've been waiting for the last and most important group of power players in that decision-making process to go from the sideways thumb to either up or down. We now have their answer. And it is going to impact the SEC one way or the next. So we'll tell you what that answer was and what it means. There's been a very interesting conversation going on in and around college football the last couple of years. And that conversation centers on one Deion Sanders. The former Florida State turned Atlanta Falcon, turned Dallas Cowboy, turned 49er, turned head coach of Jackson State University, turned head coach, Jackson State University, turned head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders has had, and I'll update the number for you in a little while, in the ballpark of 60 Colorado Buffaloes transfer out of his program. And that has done something to me that is very interesting. That has done something that I want to talk about later on in the show. It has changed the way I think that a lot of college programs are looking at roster building. And I'm going to give you some of the incredible numbers behind what's happening with Deion, but I'm also going to tell you why. Certainly it looks good for Deion that he has been able to effectively build his own rotation, his own roster there. But I'm going to tell you why it's also put Deion in a very difficult position, and it's going to end up being potentially a word to the wise, a bit of a warning to college football coaches around the country that might try to follow Deion Sanders' example. We'll come to that later on in the show as well. A lot more NBA. Nikola Jokic, in an incident we talked about a little bit yesterday, is not going to be suspended by the National Basketball Association. And my only answer to that is, yeah. Of course not. Why would he be? Why would it? It drives me crazy this was even a question. There was even the need for an investigation into this. We'll talk about that later on in the show. And a hilarious anecdote from the owner of the Houston Texans. We got all of that coming up for you. I got some college ball for you later in the show and more. Lot to get to, lot to talk about. I hope you will stick around and hang out with us the whole time. Join us on the stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate. YouTube, search The Fan Upstate, or go to Twitch and search The Rob Brown Show. All the ways to watch. We got to run to a break. We'll be back here in just a minute from right now. A lot more to get to. A lot more to talk about. It is The Rob Brown Show. It is The Fan Upstate. All right, guys, on the stream, I have got a live read coming up here, so stick right there. And pardon my my efforts here, because it's been a while since I've done this. But I'll be back in just a minute. We'll get it all worked out.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
By the way, how's the sound, y'all? Can y'all hear me all good? I have actually never run the stream off of this computer as well. So I'm hoping it's going great. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? Oh, look at that. I pushed the buttons backwards. Ha! What are you going to do? Oops. My bad. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Shoot us a text, 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Text said, Fan, Rob, I missed yesterday's show. What did you do Friday? For those of you that weren't paying attention, I had a conundrum that took place last Friday. The conundrum that I had was I had two events that I could have attended on Friday night, which was a Michael Jackson tribute / cover band in Spartanburg, or the Yacht Rock Review, which was taking place at the Peace Center downtown. And the answer is, I ended up doing neither one of them for a couple of reasons. Number one, and the most important, and you're going to learn a little something about your boy Rob Brown right here. The Michael Jackson thing was Saturday night, not Friday, which I learned when I got to the house and grabbed the tickets, prepared to go to the Berg, to then look and see that they were for Saturday, not Friday. Oops. Scheduling, not your boy's strong suit. Ended up not doing the Yacht Rock Review either, because the Greenville Swamp Rabbits had their end of the season event. They had all the players and the coaches out at the well, and then they invited fans to come by and, you know, give them a little send-off. A lot of those guys will not be back with the team next year. So they let the fans come out and spend a few minutes with the players before they go home for the off-season. And, you know, as somebody who worked the games, I felt like it was important of me to be there. I also, as I've mentioned, will always pick attendance at a local sporting event over just about anything else if given the option. So went to that. And then a couple of the ladies and fellamans from the front office decided to go out and have a celebratory brewski when it was over. So I joined them for that. And honestly, we had a wonderful time. Had a wonderful time. Anyway, I do feel like I missed it. But hey, what are you going to do? Had to work Saturday night. Wasn't able to make it out to the Michael Jackson tribute band anyway, which was just wildly frustrating. All right. Got a bunch of things to get to. We're going to run through a couple of stories, but we'll start with this one. The process by which Oklahoma and Texas had to go through in order to, first and foremost, be allowed to join the Southeastern Conference was not an easy one. There were a lot of thumbs up that had to be given, but the last one has indeed been handed off according to the Associated Press. Oklahoma's Board of Regents has approved the necessary contractual agreements with both conferences to make the switch. This comes after Texas's Board of Regents did the same thing both late last week. They allowed President Jay Hartzell to sign agreements to move the Longhorns to the Southeastern Conference. They will officially join their new league on July 1st, 2024, which means, of course, that Oklahoma and Texas will play one more season in a 14-team Big 12 that will include new members BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. OU Athletic Director Joe Castiglione. I practiced it. Can you believe it? I practiced that one, and I botched it. I practiced it. Let me try that one again. Oklahoma Athletic Director Joe Castiglione, # nailed it, said Friday's meeting was a necessary step, but he doesn't want to jump too far ahead. He said, quote, "We have a year of competing there and competing for Big 12 championships before we move on to the SEC. So we want to continue to be very respectful, very positive, and a contributing member of the Big 12. Can I tell you what that feels like to me? Those of you that have followed the show for any length of time, you are all just positively aware that I love using relationship metaphors and analogies, and I will do so once again here. Ever been through a bad breakup? Those of you that are younger, maybe not married or maybe not married for that long, you know what I'm about to tell you. In fact, most of you already probably see that proverbial writing on the wall. A number of years ago, had a bad breakup, all right? Ugly breakup. The majority of my breakups have been very amicable or basically we're done, and then radio silence, right? I'm out. We're done. See you. Bye. Adios. But I had one that was pretty crappy, yeah? And it was pretty crappy because the young lady in question decided that the best way to get over me was to get under somebody else, if you get my drift. And the only reason I knew that was because I walked in on her under someone else. Not what you're going for in a long-term relationship. Anyway, we broke up. We went our separate ways. And I resolved to do my best never to speak of her again. Okay? She lived in a different city from me. And about 6 months later, I went back to that city. Now, it was New Orleans. Most of my family lives there. My favorite football team, the New Orleans Saints, play there. So I went back to that city for a football game with a couple of amigos with the intention of, in my young and underdeveloped brain, taking my city back, right? Because the last time I had been there, I had found a girl that I had been dating for some time and put much time and resources into. I'll leave the joke right there, but you know where I was going with it. Anyway, went to take my city back. And when I got there, she attended a college, which is why she was in my city, and attended a college that I had some friends at. I had friends who went to this university. And the most frustrating thing in the world happened to me. When I got there and I started hanging out with friends and family and, my peoples, I found out that this young lady, and I don't know if I should have been grateful or not, but I was not like at all. I had found out that this young lady was talking about just how great of a guy I was, right? Rob Brown, such a nice guy, such a sweetheart, such a gentleman. And I was a little taken aback / kind of peeved, right? Because it's like, no, you don't get to do what you did. You don't get to stab me in the back. You don't get to leave me worse off than you found me and then go around talking about how amazing I am and how you're sad. It just didn't work out, right? It just didn't work out, but it's such a good guy. I love OU and UT. Looking at a conference that they have effectively doomed. Now, that's not to say that the Big 12 is going to die. It might. I'm not guaranteeing that it is. But it's certainly got a hell of a lot worse off at this point. The two crown jewels just got popped out of the vault and put into another bank. And now the Big 12, in order to try to replace the money that they're losing with Texas and Oklahoma headed to the Southeastern Conference, has had to go and recruit BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. Now, honestly, it's not a terrible lineup of replacements, but it ain't Texas and it ain't Oklahoma, y'all. They don't have the resources that those schools had. They don't have the notoriety that those schools had. They don't have the respect that those schools have. And because they don't have any of those things, it has led to a situation where the Big 12's in mucho trouble, like a lot of trouble. They're still going to make money. Like I said, I don't think they're going to die, at least not anytime soon. But I've been telling you guys for a while. And I will say this. I'm intrigued to see how the switch to a 12-team playoff impacts all of this. College football is right now an arms race. It is an arms race between the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. The SEC is loading up with 2 more juggernaut schools. The Big Ten has been matching tit for tat with a couple of teams off of the left coast. It is an arms race to see who can grab the last remaining big revenue schools. This is why I have said that I believe at some point in the not so distant future, Notre Dame will eventually be obligated to join a conference. They're not going to want to. I just don't think they're going to have a choice. This is why I've said for some time that while I have not heard of any action in this direction yet, I would not be shocked to find out long term that Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and Duke are all being wined, dined, and romanced by one of those 2 big conferences. At some point, you're going to end up in a situation where the SEC and the Big Ten have picked the other conferences clean and have created 2 mega conferences. Now, we could go conspiracy theory and we could go down the road that eventually is going to lead to not just 2 mega conferences, but a breakaway of college football from the NCAA itself, leaving the NCAA to effectively govern everything else. And then we end up having a different establishment as the adjudicators of college football. I think that's probably way down the line. And I think that has been pushed down the line by the addition of the 12-team playoff system. It's going to be a lot more games to go around. There's going to be a lot more television revenue to go around. And with the ability for conferences that aren't the SEC and the Big Ten to still get multiple teams into the playoffs, that means there's going to be playoff bonuses and playoff revenue to go around. And I think all of that is, again, kind of a big deal. But Texas and Oklahoma, who have effectively just relegated the Big 12, along with, I think, the Atlantic Coast Conference down the line and the Pacific 12 Conference down the line, they have lumped them into what I have affectionately referred to as the EEC, the Everybody Else Conference. You're going to have the SEC, you're going to have the Big 10, and you're going to have the EEC, the Everybody Else Conference. And once the EEC comes into play, it will be at that point that college football changes. You're going to have the monsters, the dominant teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. You're going to have everybody else fighting to stay alive in the EEC. And I am curious long-term, though I don't want to be a doomsday prophet. I am concerned about what happens to football at a lot of smaller schools that are not invited to the SEC, to the Big Ten, and maybe not to the EEC. Is the money going to be there for that? I don't know. We'll find out. That's all well down the road. But I love Texas and OU hitting the Big 12 with, well, the Big 12 is very important to us, and we're here to compete for Big 12 championships before we switch conferences. It's like, dude, like, you cheated on me, bro. Don't show up to date night in the little black dress and heels to tell me how important this relationship is when you've been sleeping with another dude. Clearly, it ain't that important. Clearly, you think that other relationship can provide you with something that I can't. Sucks for the Big 12, but at the same time, the Big 12 has got to get as much out of this last year with UT and OU as they can, right? They got to get as much out. They got to make as much money out of it as they can, because when they're gone, I don't care that you've got 4 teams replacing 2. BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston coming in to replace Texas and OU. You're not making up that profit. You're not making up that revenue. You're going to have to find new revenue if you want to break even. So they have got to look at Texas and OU in their stilettos, in their little black dress, with their hair done up nice, and the beautiful makeup on, and sit there and stomach knowing that they don't care about that relationship. They're just trying to get done with this date so that they can move on and go home with beef. Let's take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rob Brown. Lonzo out today, so you get me rolling solo. He'll hopefully be back tomorrow, a bit under the weather. We'll let you know. In the meantime, phone line's open, 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. Text us, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. I'm Rob. You're you. And you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
Join us for passionate sports talk that's sure to stir the pot. This is The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the sports flash on the Fan Upstate. The Atlanta Braves had the day off on Monday tonight. They're home against the Red Sox. 3-3 ready Charlie Morton faces 2-2 ready Nick Pivetta. The Red Sox have won 8 of 10. They're 4th in the American League East. The Braves have won 7 of 10.
Who am I to doubt the Houston Cougs?
The Rays beat the Orioles 3-0.
You're right. I owe you an apology. I'm sure the Houston Cougs are going to be in line with the Texas Longhorns for sure.
Jake Irvin struck out 5 over 6 and 30 in his first career win. Louis Garcia singled twice and had a multi-hit game in his 4th consecutive outing. C.J. Abrams drove in a pair of runs. Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. The Hurricanes and Devils square off in Game 4. Carolina up 2-1. They won the first 2 games. They got pounded 8-4 on Sunday. Game 5 this Thursday in Raleigh. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app. Search the Fan
or constructing a house for the birds in the backyard.
All right, dudes and dudettes, we're back. Yes, it is basically the 2 Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
Get mom to really work $139 this Mother's Day exclusively at the Home Depot. Outdoors get more done.
Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
I mean, Chuck E. Cheese is rough. I don't know if you've been there in a while. They look like they're trying to go to business and they can't.
All new material,
They filed for bankruptcy and they're still open. I called Bloodbusters. They're like, how do you get out? We want out.
Nick Bargatze. Saturday, May 13th, Bon Secours Wellness Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the GSP Airport box office. Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
Baseball is back. The free Odyssey app lets you listen to local coverage for the team you love, live stream your favorite sports radio station, or jump back and listen to the best segments on demand.
Don't forget, we talk to the manager every Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Don't listen to some guy from the other side of the country tell you about your team. Live conversations for your local team, no matter where you are. Your season, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
Staples has everything to help small businesses do big things. Shipping supplies and services so you can fill big orders. The latest tech so you can create the next big thing. And now during Staples Small Business Deal Days, when rewards members spend $100 or more, they get $30 back in rewards to use on big things, little things, or anything they need. Plus, find new deals in-store every week on tech, office chairs, and shipping supplies. Because for small businesses, Staples knows savings are a big thing. Rewards offer ends 5/13. Limit 1. Redeemable in-store only.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C. 3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, NA member FDIC.
Everything that you've ever seen with Miranda Lambert on it, I have my finger on the pulse of what it is. Auto-Wind, I've seen every article of clothing. I've spent hours and hours sending inspirations. I've sent clothes that I love and fabrics, and I'm involved in every single garment that you see. It's important to me that it is an extension of my music, and it's an extension of who I am. I always want it to stay as honest as my music. Auto-Wind at Boot Barn.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means, wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait. Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
Texas said, Rob, I respect your ability not to beat them both with a baseball bat, because that's what I would have done. I was cheated on once and I violently assaulted the man. Well, I tell you, I got the best revenge I could get in that situation. I'm not going to go with the old happy feel good. The best revenge is a life well lived. Trust me, it is. I've told you guys about Jacksonville. I've told you guys about the girl I moved there for, and it went sideways and had the same result. I have moved on. My life is incredible now. I live in an incredible place. I have an incredible job. I have an incredible fiance. Life is spectacular for Rob Brown right now. And let's just say that somebody still follows me on Instagram, that somebody got engaged like 2 weeks after I left Jacksonville to the dude that she was not with when we broke up, obviously, but just happened to get engaged like 2 weeks later, who, I have been told, has now left her, cheated on her, and is now single and suddenly liking all of my Instagram posts again. Hilarious. The best revenge that I got on the initial chick in New Orleans was that her dad and I were friends. We're hunting buddies. We're still amigos. And I let her pops know what happened. I just told him. He was like, I'm sorry, I don't know why it didn't work. And I was like, I can tell you why it didn't work. Why? Because I went to bring your daughter a birthday present, and I found her underneath another dude. And I don't know what happened, because shockingly, we kind of fell out of touch after that. I know, weird. But I did get a very long email from her about a week and a half later that was just, let's say, not FCC compliant, asking why I would ruin her life and air our dirty laundry out in public like that. And my answer was to not answer at all, man. To not answer at all. All right. Let's get some more sports stuff in here as we wrap up the second hour of the radio broadcast. Again, if you want to jump on board, now's your opportunity. You can do so at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, or text us at 71307. You guys know that I love talking about bad sports ownership. I love talking about it. Because I think that in a lot of cases, and I'm looking, for instance, at the Chicago White Sox. Also, pardon me and all this additional background noise as I adjust the microphone I never use. I love talking about bad sports ownership because I think it's very easy for us sometimes to point at coaches and point at players and put all the blame on them. And obviously it's easy to do that because coaches are the one coaching the games. Players are the ones playing the games. And so it's very easy to go, well, they're screwing the pooch. Here's why this is bad. But there's a lot more to it at this point. There's a lot more to it. Because sports, especially at the professional level, as we mention all the time, are a business before they're anything else. Sports is a business. And it is a business that, as far as I am concerned, very frequently we overlook the ownership of. And we look directly at the managers. But the owners are the ones who, if they're good, for the most part, stay out of the way. And if they're bad, believe that they know better than the people that they put into place to make the decisions about the sport. That is why I have said many, many times, the best owners, for instance, in the National Football League are the guys who get out of the way and let football guys make football decisions and do football things. If an owner wants to walk around on the sideline and show off that he's at the games of his team, that is wonderful. Good for them. If an owner wants to be directly involved with the promotion of the team or the game day experience of the team or whatever else, that's great too. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. I hope more owners get involved in that direction. What you don't want is a Jerry Jones situation, or what I have called the Al Davis scenario, right? The Al Davis scenario I named a couple of years back when Al Davis was alive. And I think it's been proven factually accurate. The Al Davis scenario says that when you have an owner that decides that he's the smartest guy in the room, when you have an owner who decides that he knows more about football than the football guys, when you have an owner that decides that he's the man now, dog, as Sean Connery once said in a very good movie, Finding Forrester. If you get the chance to watch it, I suggest it. Al Davis is the reason that the Raiders once drafted Darius Hayward-Bay Nobody thought that Darius was the best football player on the board when the Raiders drafted him back in 2000 and whatever it was. The Raiders drafted him because Al Davis thought, I know better than the football guys what my team needs, and what my team needs is a 4.38 40 out of a wide receiver. And it turned out that he wasn't super great at the receiving part of being a wide receiver, which is kind of honestly like the most important part of the wide receiver thing. He decided he was better at football things than the football guys that he hired to do the football things. And it bit them square in the old patootie. So I said for years, you are in the Al Davis scenario here. That is, this team can't be good until Al Davis dies. And it goes one step further than that. It's a situation that the Dallas Cowboys are staring down right now as well. Not only can you not be good until Al Davis dies, or until Jerry Jones dies in this case, but then you got to worry that the family members that they're going to hand the team over to, Mark Davis in the case of the Raiders, and Stephen Jones in the case of the Cowboys, most likely, are going to follow Papa Bear's lead and are going to make the same mistakes. Well, the Houston Texans may find themselves in a similar problem. Their current owner is Cal McNair. He gets a lot of help from his wife, Hannah, to the point that Houston fans are currently in belief that C.J. Stroud is a Houston Texan because Cal said, that's my guy, go get him. That belief comes from the fact that before the draft started, their brand new head coach, DeMeco Ryans, former San Francisco defensive coach, former Alabama Crimson Tider, and a very, very good player in defensive mind, said, if we don't get the guy we want at quarterback, we'll wait, right? If we don't get the guy that we want, we'll wait. Now, there sure may have been the possibility that that was a smokescreen. It was set in smokescreen season. But all of the reports coming out of Houston were that they wanted Bryce Young and they weren't going to go anywhere else, right? They wanted BY and they weren't going to make any other moves but BY. They didn't get that guy. They'd go with the defensive stalwart like Will Anderson out of Alabama, a very DeMeco Ryans-esque player. And they'll worry about quarterback maybe next year. Maybe they'll get back into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, yeah? And then the Houston Texans pulled the biggest draft day shocker of all when they not only took C.J. Stroud at number 2, but then they jumped back up to number 3 where they took Will Anderson, the guy that DeMeco Ryans reportedly wanted the whole time. And so, of course, the Houston media and fans started going, hold up. Wait a minute, y'all. We said we weren't getting C.J. Stroud, and then not only did we get C.J. Stroud, but we drafted him number 2 overall and had to give away a treasure trove worth of picks in order to get Will Anderson, the guy that we were initially going to get at number 2, a pick we already owned. So now we got a franchise quarterback, ? And our guy, but it cost us like a lot to get there. Now, maybe CJ's the guy, maybe he's not. I don't know. But Cal McNair came out in the media and said, quote, Hannah and I don't make the picks. We'll make it clear here. We have a great group of scouts led by GM Nick Caserio and Director of College Scouting James Leitford. And they did a lot of work on the draft board, and then they followed that on draft day and moved up when they saw the value was there and moved back, end quote. Of course, the Texans dealt the number 12 and 33 overall pick, along with a future first-round pick to the Cardinals for number 3. They took it on Will Anderson. Texans had the worst QBR in the league last season using Davis Mills and Kyle Allen. They went 3-13-1 on the season. Stroud was the second-best quarterback in this draft. Like I said, the interesting part was not that they ended up taking the guy considered the second best quarterback in the draft. The interesting part was that they ended up taking a guy that, by all accounts, their head coach didn't want. Their head coach didn't believe was the guy. And so when you've got an owner who's got to come out and say, I didn't do this, this wasn't me, it means one of two things. Either A, it definitely was him. He definitely did it. Or it means B, that your ownership and your management are on different pages. And the fans sense it, and the media senses it, which means you know good and gosh darn well the players sense it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know why the Houston Texans have been so bad, here's your answer. They're bad because a decision got made, and it was a big decision. And there's so much turmoil within that franchise that either A, the owner is another Al Davis, another Jerry Jones, who believes he's the smartest guy in the room, and he made the move against the wishes of his head coach and general manager who spoke out about this pre-draft, or it means that the owner and the GM and the head coach are all on different pages. And I got news for you about what it means when your ownership and your management and your employees and your players are all on different pages. It means you are going to be real bad at the sports. You just are. We got to take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. Got some college hoops to talk about. Brad Brownell picks up one of the most sought-after transfers in the portal. We'll get to that. Got to get a bunch of NBA in out of the gate coming up. Lot of stuff to talk about from last night and the night before. We'll get all of that and more. My name is Rob Brown. Join us on the live stream, facebook.com/TheFanUpstate. Search The Fan Upstate on YouTube or The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. We're back after this on The Fan Upstate. It's The Rob Brown Show. Stick around.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663.
The Fan!
Upstate.
All right. What's up, everybody on the stream? Yes, Keegan, I am the one-man band today. Alonzo, unfortunately, just a wee bit under the weather today, so rolling solo because the versatility of a utility infielder is job security, baby. That's what you do. When you get good at everything, you don't have to be great at anything.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. With Skyrizi, you can achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me
I should be offended by that, Skrilla, but I'm not. I accept it. I am the all right one. Let me throw this away. I'll be back in 22 seconds. Don't go anywhere.
Every client is assigned a license and insurance tax
Miss.
who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits. Please don't miss out on this.
Trey, I have not gotten a new ride yet. I'm working on it. Buying a car is hard, you guys. Like, it is the first time that I have had to buy a car. Like, it's the first time I've ever car shopped, like adult car shopped. When I graduated high school, I had to deal with my dad that if I had over a certain GPA, he would buy me a car for college. I accomplished that goal. So I had a Honda Accord LX that I drove from like 03 to 2016, I think, or no, 2018. So 15 years out of that car. Great car. I had almost 200,000 miles on it. And then when that car died on me, I went to car shop. I had a buddy of mine who worked at a dealership in Fort Walton, and that's when I found the Jeep. Had a Jeep Patriot. Bought that Jeep Patriot because it was the perfect car. It wasn't ridiculously oversized. It was four-wheel drive. It had a big trunk on it and a full-size back seat, which is what I wanted. It was a great car, and that car treated me very, very well. That was a car that I got totaled a couple of months ago. So I had that from 2018 till 2023. And now this is the first time I've like had to grown up car shop, and I am not enjoying it at all. Skrilla said, what kind of car do you want? I am looking, Skrilla. I am looking for a either an SUV or a full-size cab pickup truck. I'd be fine with either one. I don't necessarily have a lean either way. But basically, I've got to be able to have room for 4 people in it for when the family comes up to visit. I can't have a regular cab pickup truck. And most of the stuff that I haul, like I do a lot of stuff with our gardening stuff. I do a lot of stuff with our with the DJing equipment for the station, with my band equipment, right? So I've got to have something that I can keep stuff hauled but out of the rain. So it's either got to be a full cab pickup truck or it's got to be a SUV. I don't really have a preference either way. I'm just looking for the right one. The problem is with a mild case of anxiety, it's like every time I'm like, oh, that's the car. That's the one I want. That's the one I need. I start asking questions that I psych myself out, right? Like I start asking questions about, well, is it good because of this or bad because of that? And what do I do with this? And how do I handle that and all that? And I end up psyching myself out of buying it. I found like 2 or 3 different ones that I really, really liked, and just haven't been able to pull the trigger on any of them yet.
Man, check this out.
All right, guys, we're coming back. Y'all stay right here. Let's have some fun, shall we?
Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only
The Fan Upstate.
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your ever so humble, yet frequently correct and, dare I say, dashingly good-looking host, Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, out today a little bit under the metaphorical weather. By the way, since part of my job is to make your life better, I think I've said this on the air before. I'm not 100% sure. Did I tell you guys I found out where that phrase came from? Did I tell you guys I found out what that phrase means? I wondered for years. So, of course, being the gigantic nerd that I am, I went and looked it up. And I will now inform you so that you all can win your next office trivia competition of sorts. The phrase under the weather comes from, it was an old nautical term. It was an old shipping term, right? Like on a boat. When the ship would go into weather and the ship would start rocking and rolling and going up and down and left and right, if you ended up getting a little seasick, you landlubbers, If you ended up getting a little seasick, the only way to combat seasickness, because it turns out that they didn't have seasickness medication back in the old sailing days. If you ended up getting seasick, the best way to solve it was fresh air, right? If you go on a cruise, they'll tell you, if you get sick, the best thing you can do is go up to the top deck, get some fresh air, and look at the horizon, because the horizon's going to be relatively stable. So if you got seasick during a storm, you'd have to go up to the top deck, get the fresh air, look out at the horizon to the best of your ability. But of course, if you're up on the top deck and it's raining, you are, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, under the weather, literally. So it was an old literal term that we now use as a metaphor, and wham, you're all smarter now than you were 5 minutes ago. Unless you already knew that story, in which case you're still as smart as you were 5 minutes ago and you haven't lost anything. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. So glad to have you guys along for the ride. Let's get to this one. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little college football for just a minute, shall we? Last week on the radio broadcast, I want to say it was actually a week ago today, though I am not keeping track and I have terrible short-term memory, so who knows, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Last week on the radio broadcast, we read you the USA Today Top 25 post-spring preseason power rankings. USA Today assembled their college football beat writers. They put together a poll to decide who they believed was the bestest and who was not in college football based on what they saw up to and through the spring games. We gave you that USA Today Top 25, and there were a couple of very interesting surprises on it. One of them was the fact that South Carolina was unranked. Now, it's not just that South Carolina was unranked. It was the fact that South Carolina was unranked behind teams that were ranked, like the University of Texas, San Antonio. If I recall correctly, they're the Roadrunners. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. They were also unranked behind another team that was ranked, the Troy Trojans. Now, I grew up in the panhandle of Florida, not terribly far away from where Troy is located, down there in South Central Alabama. I got a lot of respect for the Troy Trojans program. The Troy Trojans used to be a team that was one of those teams that you paid $1 billion to come into your stadium and to beat up on by 11 points. But the last couple of years, Troy's gone through a couple of really good coaches. Last couple of years, Troy's gotten a little bit more respectable. John Summerall is the current head coach there. But they have had some other coaches that have come through over the past couple of years. Larry Blakeney coached there back in the early portion of my career. I used to have Larry Blakeney on my show all the time. Was a very respectable coach who brought Troy into some level of relevance. 3 Southland Football League titles, 5 straight Sun Belt Conference titles. Neil Brown took over. He was there 3 years. Had a decent run, including the 2018 Dollar General Bowl after going 10-3 his final year. Troy, however, as with the University of Texas San Antonio, is not better than the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Now, interestingly enough, I got a handful of texts last week when we talked about this from South Carolina fans saying, yo, not yet, Rob Brown. Slow your roll, big dog. We got to show consistency first. And my response to that is respectfully, nah. They're power rankings, right? Polls are supposed to reflect, especially power rankings, how good your team is right now. And a team that, granted it is a different team from last year, but a team that is expected to be better than they were last year, And a team that last year rolled up on not one, but two top 10 teams to end their season in Tennessee and Clemson should be ranked ahead of the Troy Trojans, with all due respect to Troy, and certainly ahead of the UTSA Roadrunners, with all due respect to the Roadrunners. The other big surprises that were on that list, at least the next two for me, was not so much that Clemson was ranked number 8. It was that Clemson was ranked number 8 and Florida State was ranked number 5. Now, I've been telling you guys through this entire offseason, be wary of the Seminoles of Florida State. Mike Norvell, I think, is doing what Shane Beamer is doing, but more quietly, right? We've given a lot of credit to Shano and what he's been doing with the Gamecocks the last couple of years. A lot of credit to Shano for building up the culture of that program, for doing a very solid job of taking back recruiting in the state of South Carolina and its surrounding regions. Done a very good job of utilizing the transfer portal intelligently to roster build a little bit. Mike Norvell's doing the same thing in Tallahassee, but he's doing it under the radar. Because whereas Shane, and I love this about him, this is not a criticism because, big fan of friend of the show, Shane Beamer. Whereas Shane kind of does it publicly, right? And South Carolina puts out the tweets and they reenact skits from The Office. And Shane does the sunglasses and the dancing, hitting the gritty or whatever. While they knock all that out, Mike Norvell's doing the same thing, but they're not putting up the tweets. And he's not reenacting skits from The Office. And he's not putting on the sunglasses and dancing around in the locker room. He's keeping it relatively under wraps. Neither is better than the other in terms of approach, and both of them so far are proving successful. But the Noles being ranked not just above Clemson, but 3 full spots ahead of Clemson was a bit of a surprise. So let's now take a look at the top 25 assembled by ESPN. ESPN had Mark Schlabach and a couple of others get together and put together their post-spring game preseason top 25. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is how they shaped out. They have the Badgers under new coach Luke Fickell at number 25. The Badgers have been, as we told you last week when we did this breakdown, a team that has kind of been the definition of the 3 yards in a cloud of dust approach. They have gotten rid of that. Wisconsin is going to be running under offensive coordinator Phil Longo, an up-tempo, almost air raid attack, and their quarterback's name is Tanner Mordecai, which is an amazing quarterback name. That guy's going to be all pro. Tanner Mordecai. We'll see how he goes. They also added a couple of transfer wide receivers that are expected to be pretty good. They've got 25 Wisconsin. They've got Kentucky at 24. Little high for my taste. We'll find out. Will Levis is out. They do bring in former NC State starter Devin Leary. I thought Devin Leary was a bit misused at NC State. I think he was a bit undervalued for the Wolfpack. We'll see if Mark Stoops can get the most out of him there at Kentucky. They also bring in former Vanderbilt starter Ray Davis and tailback Chris Rodriguez Jr. They do have an offensive line that's lost a lot that they're going to have to replace. A lot of moving parts there. Kentucky at 24. They also have the UTSA Roadrunners ranked in the top 25. 8 offensive starters and 7 defensive starters coming back for the Roadrunners. I'm not going to spend a ton of time breaking them down for you because, honestly, you don't care. And number 22, they've got the Runnin' Rebels of Ole Miss. One of the teams that had the most turnover in their program. They have had an over-dramatic roster and coaching staff change after they dropped the final 4 games in 2022. Lane Kiffin has brought in 6 new assistant coaches, including former Alabama defensive coordinator Pete Golding. They got Jackson Dart, who ranked second to Tanner Mordecai in the great quarterback names department. And they brought in a handful of transfers. Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State, Walker Howard from LSU, Monty Montgomery from Louisville, Zamari Walton from Georgia Tech, John Sanders Jr. from Miami of Ohio. They got a lot of key additions on defense. Now, we don't know if they're all going to work out, but if they do, Ole Miss could surprise some people. They got Drake Mace Tar Heels ranked at number 21. They got him a little help. Nate McCullum out of Georgia Tech. Devontae Walker out of Kent State apparently developed a lot of chemistry very quickly with Drake May. They also let the aforementioned Phil Longo, now at Wisconsin, go as offensive coordinator. Chip Lindsey has come back in, and Mac Brown has said repeatedly that he expects the defensive line of the Heels to give some hell to some ACC teams. Right above them at number 20, the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Right above them at number 19. Love this one, the Green Wave of Tulane. Kansas State is 18. The Beavs at number 17. Of course, the Beavers will be treating out Big Cinco, DJ Uiagalelei, as the starting quarterback. They have also got a couple of young guys. This is going to be really interesting for me. Not a lot of Oregon State games making it to the old Television for Rob Brown, but there will be this year. Not just because I want to see if everything DJ Uiagalelei said about his time at Clemson comes true, and with the more complex offense, he's able to break out of his shell a little bit. But more importantly, last year's starter for the Beefs, Ben Gulbranson, and incoming freshman Aiden Childs, a dual-threat five-star quarterback out of down in California, are going to push DJ a little bit. So we'll see how he does there, and if Dabo was to blame for his lack of development. They got TCU all the way down at 16, coming off of a national championship appearance. Oregon ranked number 15 ahead of them. Utah at 14. This is where these two polls begin to diverge. They got Notre Dame at 13. Notre Dame was ranked inside the top 10 for USA Today. They got Washington at number 12. They got Tennessee behind behind Joe Milton after losing Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt down at number 11. I'm fine with that. They got Texas inside the top 10 at number 10. And then you find the Clemson Tigers at number 9. Clemson's program seemed to be slipping. Dabo Swinney made one of the biggest swings of the offseason when he brought in Garrett Riley, who not only attends Kenny Chesney concerts, thumbs up to him, but on top of that, is coming off an appearance where his offense made it to a national championship game at TCU. It's going to be interesting. I don't think we have seen what Garrett Riley's offense looks like. There was a rash of offensive line injuries and a split roster in the spring game. So I don't think what we've seen is a fully developed Clemson offense just yet. We'll find out down the line. But Clemson checks in at number 9. It is some of the teams ranked ahead of them and where they're ranked I find interesting. They got Penn State at number 8. This one's interesting because the Nittany Lions were ranked ahead of the Buckeyes of Ohio State in the USA Today poll. They are not in this one. They've got LSU at number 7. They've got them one spot behind the Crimson Tide. So an SEC West battle right there at 6 and 7. They've got the Buckeyes up at number 5. Now, if you are paying attention to the opening of this segment, you know that there's still a team I have not mentioned that I mentioned specifically by name at the beginning of this segment. And you'll notice that this team in this poll is not just ahead of Clemson, but now they're ahead of LSU. Now they're ahead of Ohio State. Now they're ahead of Penn State. And they're ahead of number 4 USC. Got the Trojans bringing in a Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams. They added Dorian Singer, a wide receiver from Arizona. They brought in South Carolina running back Marshawn Lloyd. The offensive line, 3 seniors and 2 juniors starting. A lot of experience, a lot of leadership across the offensive line. The question's going to be defensively, can they get it done? They have added some meat along the front. Bear Alexander out of Georgia. Anthony Lucas out of Texas A&M. Keon Bars out of Arizona. All transferred in to play defensive line. All big beefs of meat. We'll see if they are able to get it together. USC at number 4. And then you find those aforementioned Seminoles of Florida State. ESPN's got them ranked all the way up at number 3. Last year, 10-3, 5-3 in the conference. They bring back 8 starters on offense, 8 starters on defense, and 2 on special teams. Florida State fans feel that Jordan Travis is a Heisman Trophy threat last year. 2 years ago, there were question marks about him. Last year, he carried this team in some tough spots. This year, they expect him to be sitting at the Downtown Athletic Club at the end of the year. Remember, they bring in Jaheim Bell to play tight end. They got Kyle Morlock, a Division II out of Shorter. Big upgrades at tight end. Kentron Portier seems ready to break out. Freshman Vondravius Jacobs is a building star on the perimeter. They brought in Brandon Fisk, a Western Michigan transfer. They brought in Patrick Payton. They're going to be lined up along superstar pass rusher Jared Verse. Florida State ranked up at number 3 by ESPN at this point. You don't care about the rest, but at number 2, Michigan, number 1, Georgia, no surprises there. Here's all I'm saying. Dabo Swinney's a wonderful head coach. Nobody's taken that away from him. Dabo Swinney's had a lot of success as a head coach. Nobody's taken that away from him. But is it just me? Or is this year a bit of a prove-it year for Dabo? Is it just me? But with Florida State being back, I think, with North Carolina getting some very, very generous compliments from their head coach, Mack Brown. Is it just me, or does it feel like there is a chance that Dabo Swinney has to prove it this year? Is it just me, or with the criticisms that have been building for a few years out of Clemson fans, does it feel like if Clemson doesn't win an ACC title this year and at least be the first team left out of the Final 14 playoff, is there a possibility Clemson fans start to turn a little bit? Because if that is the case, and if that is true, it's going to be a very interesting year because the competition in the ACC is going to be up this year. And it ain't the SEC. It ain't the Big Ten. But the ACC is going to be the 3rd best football conference this year. And if this is indeed a prove-it year for Dabo, if this is indeed a year that Dabo has to win some big ones to prove that he is still him, it's going to be a hell of a lot more difficult this year than it was last year, and there's not going to be a ton of room for error. The Noles are coming. The Heels are coming. ESPN picked Duke as a potential shocking team. Not that they'll win a conference tournament or conference title, but they believe Duke can grab a couple of upsets that could shake the landscape of college football down the stretch. If this is a prove-it year for the Clemson Tigers, the job will not be easy for one Dabo Swinney. Let me take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a bunch more stories I want to get in for you before we round out this hour and head to hour number 3. 844-326-3663. Text us on the text line 71307. Start your text with FAN FM. We'll read them on the air. Got a few responses in already. I will read those when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Y'all, I had a hair in my eye for the entire back half of that segment. Hang on one second for me.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's Bad MGM tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on The Fan.
All right, guys, I'm going to hit the restroom. I will be back in just a minute, and then we'll answer some of those questions and statements y'all just made. Hang out for me. Be right back.
finally.
All right, ladies and gents, we're back.
Wellness Arena this Friday night. See the King of the Carolinas, Tony Loco Soto, fight Tyler Goodjohn, plus 11 other bare knuckle fights. Tickets at bkfc.com.
Join Mark Ryan with Offsides this Wednesday from 3 till 7 at Ingles Markets in Clemson, 854 Old Greenville Highway. Mark will also be giving away a $25 Ingles gift card. That's this Wednesday from 3 till 7 at Ingles Markets in Clemson.
Golfers, the best upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. The 2023 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 9 premier upstate courses, and it's still only $99. Grab your foursome and get your Upstate Golf Cards now to play courses including Rolling Green, Links La Tryon, the Club at Brookstone, the Rock Golf Club, and more. Order at theupstategolfcard.com. 9 rounds of golf for only.
Oh, man. So how y'all doing? Everybody good?
Sponsored by InvisibleFence.com. Invisible Fence brand gives your pets the freedom to enjoy their yard and you the confidence in your decision. With a 99% success rate, a money-back performance guarantee, and financing options, you can feel confident that both your pet and your investment are protected. Visit InvisibleFence.com.
Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show.
Only on the Fan. The Fan. Upstate.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. I'm so glad to have you along for the ride. Get a couple of responses in here from what we were mentioning before we went to the out. I think Joey B, noted Clemson dude, just dropped in on the stream and I think has a interesting take on it that I don't hate. Joey B said, quote, "It's a has college football passed him by year for Dabo. The way college football operates has fundamentally changed, and we don't know if Dabo's style and system still works at the highest level." So when you started with it's a has college football passed him by year for Dabo. Joey B said it's a has college football passed him by year for Dabo Swinney. I was down in Florida when the Bobby Bowden era came to its conclusion in Tallahassee. And it was a very interesting time to be broadcasting within the Seminole territory, if you will, because there was a lot of conversation that sounded just like that. But there's a obvious difference between these two scenarios. With Bobby Bowden, it was, has the game passed him by? According to Joe Bright here, it's, has college football passed him by? And there is, I think, an important difference in those two statements and in those two questions. I think first and foremost, with Bobby Bowden, it was not about the game itself, because one of the things that I think Bobby Bowden did a great job of for so many years was surrounding himself with guys who knew the game, or at least the fundamental system around it. But I think it got to a point where Bobby Bowden was trying to force it, because you can have great coordinators and you can have great assistants and you can have great specialists and great GAs and all these different guys and gals who help run a program. But you've still got to have a college football head coach who can put the whole thing together, right? The other metaphor I love to lean on all the time is what? Food. You can have the freshest cherries and you can have delightful flour. This is a bad analogy. The point is you can have wonderful ingredients and still make a crappy pie if you don't have somebody who knows how to put them all together the right way. Bobby knew how to do that side of it, getting all the great ingredients, but he didn't know how to make the pie. The kitchen passed him by. This is a terrible metaphor. Stick with you. I'm usually not this bad at my job, but you get it. The game passed Bobby by. The offenses got faster. The defenses got stronger. Bobby Bowden was still trying to run offenses that worked when Peter Warrick and Charlie Ward were there, and they just didn't anymore. Defenses had caught up. Offenses got faster than what he was used to running. I think the opposite, to some degree, is kind of true for Dabo if Joey B's point is correct. Dabo still knows the game. Dabo still knows how to run offenses that work. He still knows how to run defenses that work. And hell, he still knows how to put a pretty good staff together. Well, at least with the hiring of Garrett Riley, he has proven that to some degree he's willing to move into those waters, because it got very clear that the old methodology of bringing in Clemson guys to be Dabo's guys, to be Clemson coaches, frankly, wasn't working anymore. So he took a big swing for the fences, and he went and got Garrett Riley. He showed he's going outside of the program. And I cannot tell you how much I believe that was the correct move. When something's not working, you got to try something else. What Dabo had been doing, up to and including Brandon Streeter, used to work. And then it stopped working. So he had to try something else. I think it's good that he did. But now the question mark is, does his roster building methodology work? Does his recruiting methodology work? And does the culture still work? That's going to be what gets proven this year. By the metrics we have to measure recruiting, South Carolina's out recruiting Clemson right now. Now, we're a long way from February. We're a long way from the early signing period. We're a long way from National Signing Day. A lot of time left for that ground to be made up. But one of the ways you make that ground up is by fielding a good football team. Because as Nick Saban has proved time and time again, do you know what brings the best college football players to your campus? Having the best college football team. If you're learning about money, young guns out there, listen to Rob Brown, a lesson I wish I would have learned from my old man. A lesson I wish I would have learned from my old man many moons ago. Do you know what the best way to make money is? It's to have money, because money begets more money. There's an old joke. You know what the easiest way to become a billionaire is? To be a millionaire. That's fact. And college football recruiting works that way as well. The best way to bring in the best talent is to already have the best talent. So, if Clemson goes out and they go 8-4, or they go 9-3, and they don't win the ACC, recruiting becomes significantly more difficult than it was when Clemson was going to 3 or 4 natties in a 6-year span. That's just how it works, right? So I agree with Joey B in this direction. This is a year that Dabo has to prove in the face of a rising tide in the ACC. Notre Dame is better. I know they're not an ACC member, but they're on the schedule. Florida State seems to have their boats pointed in the right direction. North Carolina shored up a couple of weaknesses that cost them down the stretch last year. Duke is going to get a couple of shocks. Miami, I can't stand a hurricane, but Miami is going to be better this year. With the entire ACC trending upwards, and I do believe that they are, and the fact that Clemson has been king of the hill for so long, everybody is going to have a target placed squarely on the backside of the Clemson Tigers. And it is up to Dabo to defend that team from what I believe will be a conference-wide assault on their dominance this year. That's not a question. That's a statement. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. They're coming. So this is the year that I agree with Joey B. This is the year that Dabo Swinney has to prove that he's still that guy. That's not to say if the Tigers go 9-3, Dabo's out of a job next year. But I will say this. When I got here, one of the things that I got told, and I will allow y'all to respond to this as you see fit, but one of the first things that I got told by a couple of different people was that if Clemson returns to mediocrity, I would see a lot less orange. That if Clemson returns to mediocrity, I would see a lot fewer Tiger paws around the upstate of South Carolina. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm relatively new. I've been here 3 years. I haven't been around Clemson fans, at least not while the football team's bad, long enough to know. And I hope that they don't get there. As I've mentioned many times, the most honest thing I can tell you is that I want Clemson to be very good, and I want South Carolina to be very good, and I want the Panthers to be very good, and I want the Hurricanes to be very good. I want Furman to be very good. I want Wofford to be very good because, y'all, I get paid more if they are. It's the Ric Flair approach. I want y'all to be good because if you're good, I get paid more to talk about you, and I'm a big fan of that. But if Clemson's going to stay as one of the powerhouses in college football, Dabo's got to prove it this year. He's got to prove it so that he can continue to have the foundation laid in the recruiting world to continue to get the best talent. He is under threat there. Georgia has moved into the state. Tennessee has moved into the state. Alabama has been in the state. And now the Gamecocks are starting to reclaim some of their territory from the Midlands and the upper or the lower state. You got to rectify that. You got to fix that. Success is the only way to make that happen. You also have to go out there and you've got to prove that the ACC still belongs to you. Because if you don't, and it gets taken from you by FSU, by Miami, by North Carolina, it makes your job more difficult as well. But to circle back around to that comment I was making about being told, if the team's bad, I'll see less orange and fewer Tiger paws. College football fans are hardcore. They're passionate. This game means something to them. They can also be very fickle. And bringing them a lot of success does not mean that they're backing you for life. Like I mentioned, I was down in Florida during the end of the Bobby Bowden era. And when Bobby Bowden was getting to the point where it was quite obvious the game had passed him by, it was quite obvious he was no longer capable of being that guy. The take that I heard from FSU fans was very, very frequently, name the stadium after him, name the field after him, build statues of him, paint his face on the entrance to campus, give Bobby Bowden all the love that you can muster out of the budget in the world, and then get his ass out from the field and that office because he's not him anymore. Bobby Bowden did, respectfully, more for Florida State than Dabo's done for Clemson. And Dabo's done a lot. It's really more of a compliment to how important Bobby was than a slam at Dabo, because that's not the business I'm into. And yet, the fact that Florida State was made by Bobby Bowden was not enough for the Florida State fans not to call for Bobby's head when the team didn't get bad, got mediocre. They weren't bad. They were mediocre. They were okay. And Florida State fans said, name the stadium after him, but get him the hell out. My question is, if Joe Bright is correct, and this is indeed has college football passed him by year for Dabo, and Dabo fails. Now, what the definition of failure is up to you. Is failure not making the playoffs in back-to-back years? Is failure not winning the Atlantic Coast Conference this year? Is failure 11-1? Is it 10-2? Is it 9-3? Is it 8-4? The line that you define as failure is up to you. But if Dabo fails, are we at a point in time where Clemson fans will start to turn? Will start to demand something new, something different? I can't say the answer is no, because as I mentioned, I watched it happen to Bobby Bowden, a guy that was a football god in the city of Tallahassee, Florida, across the state of Florida. Bobby Bowden was a god to Florida State fans. And yet, when the team got mediocre, he got about 3 seasons of mediocrity, and the Florida State fans said, he gotta go. Well, Clemson fans do the same. 844-326-3663. Text us 71307. Start your text with fan. Texter says, Rob, did Bobby Bowden know how the sausage is made? He knew how the sausage was made for a very long time. Then they changed the recipe, and old Bobby couldn't keep up. And the Florida State fan said, the sausage ain't good enough. You got to go, my guy. Texter said, Rob, I would donate my entire year's salary for Clemson to have an 8-win. You're winning 8, dude. All right, let's not lose our minds here. You're winning 8. That's not a question. All right. Even if I count the maybes, you're beating Furman 1, you're beating Charleston Southern 2, you're beating FAU 3. Syracuse, I'm going to say you should beat Syracuse. It was a wonky game last year. That's 4. You're beating Wake. That's 5. NC State without Devin Leary is 6. Georgia Tech is 7. And then you've got to find 8 between South Carolina, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, and Duke. You should beat Duke. I think Duke's going to be better. I think Duke's going to have one of the more respectable programs they've had in a while. But it's still Duke. Okay? It's still Duke. You're going to have 8. My question is, can you get to 10? And if you get to 10, do Clemson fans consider 10 wins and an ACC championship game berth as a failure? If the answer to that is yes, the pressure is going to be very heavy on Dabo Swinney. If the answer to that is no, you'll be just fine. Let me run to the final break of this hour. We'll come back. We got one more to get through, and then we call it a day. My name is Rob Brown. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Hope you're enjoying the show. The Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line is open, 844-326-3663. Actually, I lied to you. Hang on. It wasn't open because I don't know what button to push. That one? Yeah, there it is. Now it's open. If you've been trying to call, I'm sorry. The phones weren't open, but they are now. The Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone lines are open at 844-326-3663. Text us 71307. Start your text with fan. Listening to your thoughts on that take when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New
to the Upstate. Hey, it's DA. Wake up with a morning jolt of in-depth sports analysis and discussion every weekday at 6 on the DA Show. Only on the Fan Upstate.
All right. I bet Dabo tried to call. Unlikely, Keegan. Unlikely. I'm not going to say he didn't, though. Very good possibility. I'm sure Dabo's a big fan, right? Right? Trey said if the Hornets were any good, would you get paid more? Honestly, probably not, Trey. Because while I'm a big NBA fan, I'm the outlier. All right. We track when we post articles and bits and pods and all that. We track the numbers that they turn, yeah? And the reality is NBA posts don't get response. They haven't since I got here. I don't expect them to start anytime soon. NBA does not get us results. I wish it did. Oh, I got to turn something on. I didn't realize it was off.
In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years.
All right. I turned the studio light on. I didn't realize it was off. Do I look better? Max Fried on the IL for the Braves because of freaking Corey. The Braves can't catch a break, man. They get Darno back, and then instantly, Max Fried goes to the list. That's a bummer. Do me a favor, guys, if you don't mind, I hate to be this guy. God, I hate saying sentences like this, but welcome to the algorithm. If you enjoy the pod, or if you enjoy the live stream, I guess, do us a favor. Click that like button, or the heart button, or the laugh button, or the... It doesn't matter what button you click. Just click a button, react to it, and if you really enjoy it, if you don't mind sharing it around, we will be greatly appreciative. We have got to... grow the stream numbers some. That is my next, let's say, task from our corporate overlords. So if you don't mind, share it around, react to it, stream to it, and because we got to grow the show. We appreciate it. On Facebook, Steven, there is a clown button, I believe, isn't there? Is there not a clown button on Facebook? I thought there... Oh, no, I guess that's... No, I guess not. Well, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Can I get a remix?
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like...
Yes, Keegan. That is correct.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers. So you get the pronunciation.
Painful but true, my man. Sometimes we just accept our lot in life.
Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
It's Macy's Mother's Day sale. Take an extra 25% off great gifts for every mom with your coupon or Macy's card. Like dresses, shoes, and more she'll love, 25 to 40% off. Or shop specials like 55 to 65% off robes, towels, and more bath accessories. And fragrance gift sets from her favorite friends.
All right, let's do some more radio, shall we?
Give love, give style, now at Macy's. Savings off selling clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
Never got fluent, but then I tried Babbel.
The Rob Brown Show continues, wrapping up our number 2 here on the radio broadcast. Texter said, Rob, I bet that was a Carolina fan willing to give a year's salary for Clemson to only get 8 wins. I mean, like, maybe. Very well, maybe. But I'll tell you, I looked at the schedule, and I think 10-2 is realistic, right? Duke's not really a trap game. You're coming off, you're opening with Duke. You got Charleston Southern, then FAU. Should be 3-0. Florida State, let's say 3-1, just for the sake of the discussion. Syracuse, 4-1. Wake, 5-1. Miami, let's again say sake of discussion, worst case scenario, 5-2. NC State, 6-2. Notre Dame, again, worst case scenario, 6-3. Georgia Tech, 7-3. Carolina could be 7-4. South Carolina could be 7-5. Again, that's absolute worst case scenario. I don't believe that is going to be the case at all. But you get the point. All right, we got to run to our final break. Final top of the hour break. How do I do radio? How do I do a radio? We got 1 hour left. We start it next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg,
And on the Odyssey app.
Upstate.
First round series was a quote breaking point, and the Grizz have said that they will not be bringing back Dylan Brooks, quote, under any circumstances, end quote, which means that the last scene of Dylan Brooks as a Memphis Grizzly is going to be walking away from the arena where LeBron James just kicked his ass. You know, the guy he doesn't respect because, quote, he's old, end quote. The last scene of Dylan Brooks as a Memphis Grizzly we're going to see is him walking out from the arena and wearing a big necklace that said DB for Dylan Brooks or...
Same great show, every time.
Rob Brown Show.
Now 9 to noon, only on the Fan Upstate.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Get wings the way you want them. Try Twin Peaks wings bone and breaded, naked, smoked and grilled, or boneless in your favorite sauce or rub.
I'm Mark Ryan. If you're like me, you're no interior decorator and you need a bit of help putting together an outfit that pops. I'm beyond grateful I met my friends at Smith & James Fine Men's Clothing because they make me look like I know what I'm doing. They'll help you find the best color combinations with slacks, shirts, polo suits, and so much more. There's nothing quite like surprising your sweetheart with a new getup that has you looking your best. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com and stop by their stores at 222 Trade Street in Greer or at their new location on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent, but then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel is all conversation-based, so it gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
You'll really see a difference in how you can speak and how conversational you can be in just a few weeks.
Babbel isn't just lessons. You can listen to podcasts, play games, watch videos. You can even take live online classes with a language teacher. There are so many ways to learn with Babbel.
The lessons online and in the app make it easy to learn from pretty much anywhere.
University studies have shown that using Babbel for 15 hours.
All right, guys, be right back. Don't go anywhere. 30 seconds. Well, probably longer than that, but you get it.
Potentially get a payroll.
All right, dudes and dudettes, we back.
$1,000 per employee. Get refunds.
Bravos do look good. Got a couple from the O's. Needed that. Needed a good series win against a good team.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only
The Fan Upstate.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, upstate South Carolina? What's up, America? Hello, world. It's great to be with you. Thank you all for spending some time with me this AM. The great one out today, unfortunately, just a wee bit not feeling it. He should, hopefully, fingers crossed, be back with us tomorrow. But, of course, we'll update you when we find out. If you guys would like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now would be a wonderful time for you to do just that, ladies and gentlemen. Now would be an excellent time for you to do just that. You can do so by calling the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line. The phone number is 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. You can text us on the text line at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, so that we can read them on the air. And, of course, you can tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet Lonzo at Lonzo on Word. And you can tweet us all, the whole staff, the whole cast and crew, the entire behind-the-scenes gang at The Fan Upstate. We also want you to join us on our live stream. The live stream is at facebook.com/TheFanUpstate. It is on YouTube by searching and subscribing to The Fan Upstate. And it's on Twitch by searching The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Those are all the different ways for you to get in touch with us on the radio broadcast. And please do us a favor, because we're going to be doing something new, fun, different, and I think interesting over the next few weeks. I want you, if you don't mind, to grab the Audacy app, AUDACY. Grab the Audacy app, AUDACY. Once you get the Audacy app, AUDACY, I want you to do us a favor. I want you to search The Fan Upstate, and I want you to click the little heart button that is there to make us a favorite on the Audacy app. Once you have done that, if you don't mind, I know I'm asking a lot, but it's really for all of our good. Once you've done that, I would appreciate you enabling your push notifications. Now, I promise you we're not going to spam you with 1 billion push notifications. Okay? We're not. What we are going to do is we are starting with a new piece of technology we call Audacy Go Live. A Go Live is effectively the opportunity for us, myself, Mark, Ryan, Diesel, and Lonzo, to do mini radio broadcasts that come directly to your phone or PC. A Go Live basically allows us to go live, what an incredible name, at any point from anywhere, and you can listen to it right on your phone, but it's so much more than that. Not only can we broadcast to you guys, so yes, we are able to go live during games, we are able to go live from different locations, but it also lets you guys get involved as well. There is an active chat room that goes on during Audacy Go Lives. There is also the opportunity, if you prove yourselves worthy, for us to invite you in as broadcasters as well. So, for instance, if we're doing a Go Live, let's say during the upcoming Women's World Cup, maybe during knockout round, USA taking on whatever team we're taking on. During halftime and or at the end of the game, I will be able to go live on the Audacy Go Live and invite you guys in as listeners and as broadcasters to actually talk about the game in question. We can do it during the NBA Finals. In fact, the NBA Finals will likely be the point where I start launching the Rob Brown Show's Go Lives. So if you grab the Audacy app, AUDACY, put it on your smartphone and other digital devices. If you favorite The Fan Upstate as one of your favorite stations, and if you enable push notifications, because that's how you'll know when we're about to go live, you will be invited to these Go Lives. You will be invited to chat with other members of the Rob Brown Show Armada and other members of the Fan Upstate Nation. You will also be able to interact with myself, with Mark Ryan, with Diesel, and with Lonzo on our Audacy Go Live. So grab the Audacy app, AUDACY, click the old heart button to make the Fan Upstate one of your favorites, and make sure you enable push notifications so that you can join us when we go live throughout the week and around the calendar. Let's get some stories in here real quick. We'll bounce around some different stuff. The Bravos have been looking significantly better. Y'all know, if you listened from the beginning of baseball up through last week, you know I had one major issue with the Atlanta Braves. By the way, the Atlanta Braves, who currently not only possess the best record in Major League Baseball, in the National League, they are currently 24-11. The only team with a better record in baseball are the 29-7 Tampa Bay Rays. But the Braves have the best record in the National League. In fact, not only do they have the best record in the National League, but they are currently a full 7 games up on the New York Mets, who are second in the NL East. The Braves look good, but I had a major complaint up through last week, and that major complaint was that in looking through a breakdown of the Braves schedule, something jumped out at me. It was the fact that all of the Braves' losses, of which there are now 11, after taking 3 out of 4 against the Orioles, of the Braves' losses, all of them had come against teams that were, at the time, either first or second in their respective division. A couple of those losses came from the playing well at the time San Diego Padres. The Padres have now fallen off. They're just a game above 500, but they're only 2.5 behind the Dodgers in the NL West at 18-17. They had losses that came against the Houston Astros. The Astros at the time were actually playing wonderful baseball, but they have fallen off hard and are now 17-18 and a full 4.5 games back of the shockingly decent 21-13 Texas Rangers. At the time, all of the L's that the Bravos had taken were against teams that were, at the time, first or second in their division. Quality wins were hard to come by for Atlanta. But they righted that ship a little bit this past weekend. They righted that ship in a series against the Baltimore Orioles. Sorry, they played 3 games, not 4, but they took 2 out of those 3. That came off a 3-game sweep of the Miami Marlins. That came after taking 2 out of 3 against the Mets. That was supposed to be a 5-game series. 2 of them got rained out. They had a doubleheader that was split. They also won the opener. The other game is going to be made up as a doubleheader, I believe they said in August. That came after taking 3 out of 4 against the Marlins. But before that, it was a 3-game sweep at the hand of the Astros that set them down the path. Now, there was also one more problem that Atlanta's been facing. Injuries. The Bravos have been getting killed by injuries. They have lost a number of players to injury. One of them was a guy who was raking before he went down, Travis d'Arnaud. Now, d'Arnaud is one of a trio of catchers that the Braves have carried and been able to alternate in order to keep everybody fresh, everybody healthy, and it's gone relatively well up until d'Arnaud got his head bashed in and got a concussion. He's been out for about a month. Yesterday, great news, as Travis d'Arnaud was moved off of the injury list back onto the active roster, meaning we could see Travis d'Arnaud by the end of the week. The Bravos are set to start today a series against the Boston Red Sox over at the Battery. Orlando Arcia had gotten banged up. Arcia's back. Vaughn Grissom gets sent back down to Gwinnett. These are all good moves for Atlanta. And at the moment, it feels like, hey, the Bravos have got some momentum moving in the direction of healthy. They find out today that Max Fried, the ace, or at least the guy that is listed as the ace, but frankly, if you're asking me, I think that Spencer Strider is very quickly proving to be the number 1 pitcher on this rotation. Max Fried's good. Max Fried is now on the 15-dayer, and that moves Spencer Strider into that 1 spot. Now, the injury will, fingers crossed, only costs Max Fried 2 starts. There have been some moves been made. Some guys have done well. Dodd has been very good. Spencer Strider, as I mentioned, as far as I am concerned, is likely the number one guy off the bump for the Bravos. But just when they get d'Arnaud back, Max Fried goes to the IL with a strained left forearm. Good news, bad news is the Braves have found some depth in the rotation. The bad news is they're about to catch a really, really interesting stretch of game. As I mentioned a second ago, they have got the Boston Red Sox coming up for a quick series against Beantown. They got a 2-gamer. This one's going to be in Atlanta. Charlie Morton will go to the bump today. They play Boston again tomorrow. Then listen to this stretch. 3 games in a row, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're in Toronto taking on the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays currently find themselves 3rd in the AL East. They are only a game behind Baltimore at number 2. But Baltimore's 22-13. A very young team, but a very good team. And, of course, the leaders in the AL Beast, a division where precisely 0 teams are below 500, at 29-7 are the Tampa Bay Rays. The Jays at 21-14, playing in the AL Beast, a division with no teams below 500. The Jays, with their 21-14 record, would be leading the AL Central. They would be in second by a half a game in the NL West. They would be second in the NL East. They would be leading the NL Central. They'd be leading the NL West. This is not an easy 3-game stretch against Toronto on the road in Canada. Then they travel to Arlington, where they're on the road for 3 against the division-leading Texas Rangers. Yes, that is a sentence you just heard and heard correctly. The AL West-leading Texas Rangers. When they get done with the Rangers, they are back home for a 3-gamer against the Seattle Mariners. Now, the Mariners, as of right now, are one of the most disappointing teams in baseball. They're only a game under 500 at 17-18. They're 4.5 back of the Rangers in the West. But the Mariners are a team that a lot of us thought, behind Julio, would be a contender this year. In fact, both Cody Decker and I suspected that the Mariners could very well challenge the Astros for the AL West crown. Now, that division's flipped upside down right now. Outside of the Oakland A's, who we knew were going to be terrible and are 8-28 so far, outside of the A's, thought this division could be a little contentious. But we thought the Stros and the Mariners would be first and second, and instead they find themselves fourth and third. But again, not an easy 3-gamer against the Seattle team that I genuinely believe could break wide open at any point. Then they've got 3 at home against the Dodgers on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Then they've got a 4-game set at home against the Phillies. Now, the Phillies right now don't look great in the NL East. They are currently 16-19. They are 8 games off the lead. But remember, they just got Bryce Harper back this week, meaning there's some time to grow the chemistry in Philly. They got to get Bryce Harper up to speed. Once they do, they got to start working the lineup around Bryce Harper. It's going to change where guys like Trey Turner are batting in the lineup more than likely. So, not an easy 4-gamer at home against the Phillies for the Bravos. The good news is, after that, they get a little bit of a break to end May with a 3-gamer on the road in the worst stadium in America, Oakland, when they take on the Athletics. But this next half a month is going to go a long way to proving that the Braves aren't leading the NL East with a record of 24-11 because the schedule has been easy. And don't get me wrong, it has been. You've had a lot of games with the Miami Marlins. That's a bad baseball team. You've had games against the bad Mets. You've had games against the Royals, who are bad. You swept them. The Reds, who are bad. You swept them. The Cardinals, who are shockingly, and I mean this, the single most disappointing team in Major League Baseball. You swept them. And the DC Nationals, who you took 2 out of 3 from. The schedule's lined up nicely through mid-May for Atlanta. But between the Orioles, and again, 2 out of 3 is a good performance for Atlanta. Between the Orioles, the Red Sox, and yes, I did say the Red Sox, they are 21-15 in the AL Beast. Between the Orioles, the Red Sox, at Toronto, at Texas, home for Seattle, home for the Dodgers, and home for the Phillies before you catch a break against Oakland, the next 17 days, to me, is going to be a wonderful, wonderful benchmark by which we can determine, are the Braves actually good? Or the Braves been kind of getting away with having a favorable schedule? I'm very excited to find out. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's get a little bit of NBA discussion in here. Last night was good basketball. Lakers Warriors was one of the better games of the postseason so far. But there was a guy who screwed the pooch that I never would have bet it was going to be. And a guy who stepped up and saved the Lake Show, who is not Braun or AD. We'll talk about that game as well as Knicks Heat and set you up for tonight's NBA contest when we come back. I am Rob Brown. You are listening to The Rob Brown Show. You are listening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663.
The Fan!
Upstate.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you about our friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in non-surgical regenerative therapy. What does that mean? I'm ever so glad you asked. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you're dealing with joint pain, if you are dealing with joint pain, whether it's in your knees or your elbows, your hips, your lower back, whatever, you don't want to have to get cut open, sliced, and diced to have it repaired or surgically fixed or whatever, do you? No, of course you know. QC Kinetics offers non-surgical regenerative therapy that allows you to have your body's own natural healing abilities harnessed, delivered directly to the All right, guys. Thanks for hanging on. Sorry about that. I had to do 2 live reads right there, but we is back, y'all. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric, we offer flexible scheduling to meet your needs. Call Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric today or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.
Yeah, James, you're right. The Marlins have bailed us out a couple of times.
Upstate.
The sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Welcome to the Fan.
Upstate.
Now CBS Sports Radio. More than the scores. Real sports talk for real sports fans.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 9 to noon.
The Fan.
Upstate.
Texture said if the Braves lose, we'll know the curse of Rob Brown is real. Listen, I have told you guys about the Rob Brown bump, right? The Rob Brown bump is real. Been talking about it for years. The Rob Brown bump is real. You come in on this show, things go well. The bits were a little bit sideways at the end of the year. We had Lordo come on the show. What'd they do? 14 goals across 3 games and earned a bid into the playoffs. We had last year a couple of spots. Goals tough to come by for the Triumph. We got Harksey in here. What happened? Suddenly the offense showed up for the Triumph at the end of the season. The bump is real. But unfortunately, if the bump is real, it means the curse is real too. I cannot begin to publicly believe in a team. Because if I start to publicly believe in a team, that team will inevitably fall off. I can't, if I come on the airwaves and I go, the Braves found it. I'm sorry I said that. I shouldn't even say it, just in case, right? If I come on these airwaves and I go, so-and-so just found it. This team's got it. This team's found it. They have found the groove, baby. Inevitably, that team tanks. So if the Braves drop a few to the Red Sox today and tomorrow over in the ATL, I will ever so humbly apologize for that because it will be on me. Call that shot. That's going to be my bad. Anyway. Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com. Phone lines open 844-326-3663. Text us on the text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air. A couple of big NBA games last night. The Lake Show got it done against the Golden State Warriors. And now all of a sudden, the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions find themselves on the brink of elimination because the Lakers, a team that I was very excited how bad they were doing because the Pelicans hold the rights to their first-round pick next year, and I genuinely thought that this team was going to be giving my team a top 10 pick. Instead, the Lake Show, a play-in tournament team, finds themselves leading the series 3-1. And I can put that squarely on the shoulders of 2 separate players last night. One of them for Golden State, one of them for the Los Angeles Lakers. For Golden State, here's a sentence I don't say very often, and a sentence that I bet Lonzo is regretting he's not here to hear. Steph Curry blew it last night. The Dubs were in this game. The Dubs were in this game until the very end of the game. The Dubs had a real opportunity last night. And instead, Steph Curry botched it. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times. In a game where the Dubs were not shooting the ball deep very well. 12 of 41. They loft 41 3-pointers in this game. They hit 12, 29.3% rate of efficiency from deep. Steph Curry had not 1, but 2 different opportunities to get a better look or give somebody else a good look at the rack. Instead, he launched a step-back jumper that came up short from the free throw line. The ball got rebounded by Draymond, who kicked it back out to Steph Curry. Steph Curry took a couple of dribbles in the face of AD and then took about a 28-foot step-back three from the border of the logo. You want to guess what happened with that one? It also came up short. Not once, but twice. Steph Curry tried to play hero ball, and not once, but twice, Steph Curry failed to convert. Now, if either one of those shots go in, the Dubs probably win that game. But they both missed. If one of those shots goes in today, let's be honest, I'm sitting here right now going, what an incredible finish. Steph Curry is that dude. Steph Curry is a real one. Steph Curry, but we're not. Steph Curry took two even for him, very low percentage shots. He bricked them both. The Lake Show was able to get the board on the second one, and that was all she wrote. Then, on an inbounds play, with a second and a half left to play, and down 3, 104-101, you'll notice that was the final score. The ball got inbounded to Steph Curry. Steph Curry had a timeout in his back pocket. The ball got batted around. Steph Curry ended up with the ball, but going to the ground on his back. And instead of finding a referee and screaming, "Timeout!" as loudly as he possibly could, Steph Curry just flipped the ball backwards over his head, looking to get it into the hands of a waiting Golden State teammate. The problem was the direction that Steph Curry was not looking was the direction that Steph Curry did flip the basketball. And had Steph Curry been looking, Steph Curry would have recognized there were no Warriors there. In fact, there were no anybody's there. There were no bodies at all in that direction. Steph Curry flipped the ball to nobody. Nobody missed the ball. The ball went out of bounds. The Lakers got it back with 1.7 and a timeout, which meant that they were able to inbound the ball, get the timeout, advance the ball over the half-court line, and now create a situation where the Golden State Warriors either had to steal the inbound, they did not, or draw an offensive foul, they did not, and either end up getting the offensive foul, making one free throw, missing the second one, getting the rebound, and putting it up all in 1.7 seconds or less, or stealing the ball and knocking down, at the very best, a half-court shot for 3. Very low percentage chance that was going to happen, either one of those outcomes. And guess what? Neither one did. Steph Curry blew it. On the flip side, how about the effort from the 15 points in the fourth quarter of Lonnie Walker IV? Lonnie's a guy who didn't get a lot of PT this year. Kid out of the University of Miami, Florida, 6'4", 204. He's 24 years old and has been a deep bench player for the LA Lakers this year. Lonnie Walker IV played 27 minutes last night. In that 27 minutes, he went 6 of 9 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep, knocked down a couple of clutch shots at the stripe, also came up with 3 boards, 2 assists, and a couple of steals, had just 1 turnover. He was +8 in the plus-minus category. Lonnie Walker IV, not Anthony Davis, who had 23, not LeBron James, who had 27, Lonnie Walker IV came up clutch for the Lake Show last night. Here's what I loved about this. In one of the huddles, they had a mic on Steve Kerr. And Steve Kerr, talking to his Golden State Warriors team, looked him in the face and said, "Look, they're old. Let's run them. Let's get up and down the floor. Let's play fast, deep outlet passes, quick transitions, lots of fast break buckets. Let's wear them out. They are old." And that strategy would work just fine, except for Coach Ham had the solution. And the solution in this case was, let's go to the bench. They brought in Schroeder. He played 35 minutes. They brought in Hachimura. He played 14 minutes. They brought in Lonnie Walker IV. He played 27. And what that allowed them to do was give a few minutes to some of the other guys out there and keep the legs of the late show fresh without having to remove LeBron and AD from the lineup. You were able to give spells to Vanderbilt. You were able to give spells to Russell. You were able to give spells to Austin Reeves, who has been big. He shot 7 of 15 and 3 of 6 from deep, including 4 of 4 from the stripe. It allowed you to keep the fresh legs on the young guys without removing AD and LeBron. AD and LeBron were able to get up and down the floor at their pace and not get exhausted by having to chase Clay Ingram, by having to chase Draymond Green. They were able to get up and down the floor with young legs carrying the old hats so that the old hats could still go get 27 and 23 from James and Davis, respectively. It was a real good strategy. A real good strategy. And it worked out because late in the game, where Anthony Davis should have been exhausted, where LeBron and Anthony Davis should have been worn out if they were trying to keep up with a younger Golden State team. Instead, they were able to lean on Austin Reeves late. Sideline reporter in that game pointed out that during one of the last timeouts, Anthony Davis walked over to Austin Reeves, grabbed him by the shoulders, and said, "Show them who the hell you are. Show them who the hell Austin Reeves is." Because Austin was big in both the play-in tournament and the first round series of the Lakers, but he was struggling early in this one. And they needed him. AD grabbed him by the shoulder, said, "Show up, show out, young man," and Austin Reeves finished strong because he had fresh legs playing 34 minutes. Hachimura off the bench with his 14 was big. Not as a points contributor, he only had a couple, and both of them came from the stripe. But Hachimura was able to lock in down defensively, allow Anthony Davis to stay close to the rim, not have to close out, not have to sprint out to the three-point line and back and out to the line and back. He was able to just lock down at the basket, let Hachimura chase those guys down to the three-point line, keep AD's legs fresh, and AD was able to go deep into the game, especially when it got clutch. I thought the Lakers last night played an outstanding game of basketball. Wasn't the only game that was on. Earlier in the evening, 109-101, the Heat knock off the Knicks. And once again, how many times do we have to say it? Jimmy Buckets is that guy. 9 of 17 from deep, 8 of 9 from the stripe, ended up with 27 points. Bam Adebayo had 23 on 10 of 17 from the floor. Strus checked in 6 of 13 for 16 as well. The Miami Heat aren't doing anything special, right? The Lakers had to come up with a really interesting game plan in order to make it work against Golden State. And they did, and they executed, and they won. Great. The Heat aren't doing anything special. They're playing smart ball. They're playing efficient ball. They're letting Jimmy Buckets be the guy. And they're shooting 47.1% from the floor. They shot 33 1/3 from behind the arc. 1 out of every 3 buckets went down. And they got to the stripe 22 and knocked down 16. They're not doing anything special except rebounding. 13 offensive boards for the Heat. The majority of them late in the game. The Knicks kept trying to go on a run. And every time the Knicks went on a run, Miami would get a second chance opportunity. They would put one back, and they would kill that run off. Basketball's a game of runs. You know how you stop a run? Offensive rebounds. You clean the glass, you get a second chance opportunity, you put it down, you kill the momentum. New York could not keep the Heat off the glass. The Heat kept getting to the glass, they kept getting second chance opportunities, and they kept knocking the Knicks' runs down before the Knicks could go on that run. It was beautiful basketball. It was beautiful basketball. Oh, and on top of that, deep in the game, when they needed him the most, where did the New York Knicks find Julius Randle? On the bench, fouled out. Because not only did the Heat keep getting second chance opportunities, but they kept going at Julius Randle. They kept running it right at the guy who is the primary rim defender alongside Robinson. They kept getting at him. He kept fouling. He fouled out with what? I think like 5 minutes left to play. And now all of a sudden, arguably the most important inside weapon that New York has was off the floor. Because Miami put together not a complicated game plan, not an elaborate game plan, a very simple game plan. Own the glass, get after Randle, don't let him be a playmaker, foul him out early. They did that, they won the game. It's that simple. Got a couple coming up for you this evening as the 76ers and the Celtics are squared up at 2 games apiece. This one's going to be at 7:30. The Suns and the Nuggets get busy at 10 o'clock tonight. That series is tied 2-2 as well, which is really interesting, by the way. CP3 was unavailable in the last game. He'll be unavailable in this game, and he might be unavailable in Game 6 as well. We'll get that diagnosis later on in the week, I'm sure. The Suns might actually be playing better basketball without CP3 than with him. And I love Chris Paul. I do. I've been a Chris Paul was a guy who left New Orleans that I wasn't even mad at. I'm like, I get it. We suck. That's fine. I love CP3. One of my favorite point guards of all time. Does not get the respect he deserves. But I think they're playing better without CP3 than with him, to be honest with you. Because Devin Booker is taking over games. Devin Booker is not compelled to share. When CP3 is out there, Devin Booker becomes the secondary ball handler. And do you know what a guy like D-Book can't do if he doesn't have the ball? Attack, penetrate, and score. Without CP3, Devin Booker's the primary ball handler. Without CP3, every possession is an opportunity for D-Book to take the ball to the rim, put the brown thing in the round thing, and score it. And he's done that the last game. That whole thing between the Matasheba, the owner of the Suns, and Nikola Jokic, by the way, was dumb. If Asheba was any other fan, he gets ejected from that game, dude. Nikola Jokic did not push Asheba off of him. He raised his arm up when Asheba got up into his bubble, and Asheba took a dive, dude. If a soccer player took the dive that Asheba took at that game, you would all call me to make fun of him and all soccer players. He flopped. And he flopped hard. It was a joke. So I'm glad the NBA made the right call of not suspending Jokic for a game, because that would have been devastating to the Nugs. Instead, he gets to play. He eats a $25K fine. And it's still not cool, man. I still absolutely put that on Matasheba. But not my circus, not my clowns, as the kids say. Over in the National Hockey League, Stanley Cup playoffs going on tonight. We got two games for you tonight. The big one starts at 7. Carolina took a 2-1 series lead. They went back to Jersey for game 3. Now, my belief is a 7-game series is not over until somebody loses at home. Carolina went 2-0 at the house. They went back to Jersey. Jersey didn't just win at the house. Jersey decimated Carolina. What was the final? 8-4 in Jersey. Now, Carolina's got to figure out their goaltender situation. Is Antti Raanta back? He had an illness, cost them the last game. Jersey lit the lamp. He practiced yesterday. Antti should be back between the pipes for the Canes tonight. You have to win this game. I'm not saying this is must win for Carolina. I'm saying really, 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 really big if you do win it. Take this thing 3-1 back to Carolina. Don't even create a scenario where Jersey can be the first team to win on the road, right? First team on the road wins this series. I'm calling that shot now. If Carolina gets it done tonight, Carolina wins. Series is over. If Carolina drops it tonight, the series goes back to 2-2. It comes back to Raleigh for game 5, and the Canes lose that game at home. Jersey wins this series. It's a series Carolina should already have in the books. First team to lose at home loses this series. Tonight's game is not a must-win for Carolina, but it makes game 5 a must-win if they don't. We'll talk more hockey as we get towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, of the week. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got one segment left. Is it fair to do Twitter trending topics by myself without the great one here? Is that cool? I don't know. Anyway, take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. See if we can fit another story or two in, get Twitter trending topics, and call it a day. My name is Rob Brown. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to the Fan Upstate.
The Jungle with Jim Rome. Weekdays at noon. Offsides with Mark Ryan at 3.
The best sports talk all day.
Every day. Only on the Fan Upstate.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you about our friends at the Gables All right, dudes and dudettes, we are back for the last segment. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I know it was a bit of difficulty running the one-man show, but we got it done, y'all.
Kelley Blue Book is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, selling, and instant cash offer. Instant cash offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Just enter your VIN or license plate, answer a few questions about your car's history, and what kind of condition it's in. In minutes, you'll receive an offer to sell or trade your car that you can be sure is fair. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car and schedule a time to meet. For all of the it's, kvb.com.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save on the brands you trust. Right now, buy a DeWalt 9-gallon corded shop vacuum with accessories at a new low price of $99. Plus, as an MVP's member, earn 3 bonus points per dollar when you buy select concrete mix. You can then redeem for rewards. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. While supplies last, discount taken at time of purchase. See associate for details. Valid through 5/17. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 6/2. Subject to change.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
1 pill in the morning, 24 hours, 0 heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's possible. Taking Prilosec OTC uses directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
This afternoon, 47 with a thunderstorm or 2, high of 88.
Weather brought to you by Staples. Staples stores are a new world of possible, innovative tools for small business and members and workers. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
All right, not going to have time for Twitter trending topics, mainly because I'm off the clock. I'm running late. What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? I want to thank you guys who hung out with me today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope Alonzo's feeling better. If he's listening, feel better. Hope we get you back tomorrow. If not, no worries, ladies and gentlemen. I want to remind you that coming up Friday night, the Greenville Liberty will be at home. Game number 1 for the USLW League semi-pro team. Then on Saturday, the Greenville Triumph are back at home. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, Greenville Drive back in the house. I'll be there. Want a little daytime baseball and you can get off of work. That's a good opportunity for you. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back tomorrow to do it all over again, but even better, don't drink and drive. I will punch you in the face. Have a lovely rest of your Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rob Brown. Follow me on the social media at The Rob Brown Show on Twitter and Facebook. Make sure you follow the Fan Upstate as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your day. Hasta luego. Bye.
Opinions, analysis, and entertainment all rolled into.
Well, botched the ending of that, but you guys got to witness something incredible. A Rob Brown mistake. We know I only make 1 or 2 of those a day, right? Love it, Skrilla. Can't wait. We'll be banging the drum together. Yes, Keegan, I did cheat and get the monster today because when you get the text at 6:30 in the morning that you're going to be running a show by yourself, you need the old noggin kicking, my man. So I went ahead and gave myself the exception today. First one I have had in 5 days, 6 days. I don't know who's counting. Point is, yes, when I got the note that I would be running this thing by myself today, got to get up to speed, my man. That's just how it goes. Just how it goes. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoy the show. I very much appreciate you. You're all spectacular people. To those of you I will see tomorrow, I'll see you tomorrow. To those of you I won't, have a lovely week. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Goodbye.